Hey, what's up, everybody? How you doing? This is Sharon with Knowledge or Nonsense. Excited to be here today. Mr. Perkins is having connectivity issues. Those of you in Florida, you know it's raining. It's doing a bunch of different stuff. So hopefully we'll be able to see him. If not, it's okay. Myself and our guests, we're gonna share this information with you. Excited to be here. Today we're talking about the infamous side hustle. And I call it infamous because we know it as that term, but I'm wondering, do we know what a side hustle really can bring us? Like, I know we have an idea, like, I'm gonna have my side hustle and whoop de woo, I'm gonna do this, and this. There's this long laundry list. But do we know basic things about quote unquote the side hustle? Maybe it's just hustle. Maybe if we don't equate it as a side hustle, is it a side piece to go with our chicken meal? Can I just have one side piece with that? How we order? Is it a side something else? How people look at relationships? Is it something that we give from the leftovers? Like, is it something we do and then what's left over is this? Or do we look at how we're building the side hustle? And how many people in America really do have side jobs and side hustles? Maybe if we look at all of that, it may change how we do some things. It may bring some more consistency in how we do some things. And it may let people know that, look, you're not just beholden to a job. You're not locked in. As this is the only way. It's a great way. It's a great way. But are there other options to increase your revenue, to drive you toward your goals, and to help prepare your legacy, like to help you leave an inheritance for your legacy? So, we're going to do all of those things today. I'm excited to have Lisa Dove Washington with us and Mickey English. And yeah, people who understand what it means to do something as an advocation, an additional vocation, not necessarily just a quote unquote side hustle. So that's what we're talking about today. You know what to do. Share this video. When we come back, we'll have Lisa with us and Mickey and perhaps Luane, perhaps not. But Luane, we love you. I know you're working hard, and it was good to see you before the storm or whatever took you away. We'll be right back. Hey, y'all. And
Good
we,
Good
morning.
morning.
how y'all doing today?
Hey,
Good.
doing very well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. I'm in Gulfport, Biloxi, Mississippi. And
Okay.
so it is well. It is well with my soul. I'm good.
Good, good
Um,
deal.
I'm excited about this conversation. I know a lot of individuals that have a side hustle that want to be involved in what is commonly called a side hustle. And they have questions. They ask me questions. And I was just like, I know a couple of people who this is something that they've been asking me about more frequently since the pandemic started. And
Mhm.
also with the great resignation, a lot of people are looking at ways to still have income.
Mhm. Yes.
And I just, I don't want anyone to be surprised if certain benefits or streams of something stops coming from the government or it gets a little tighter. I'm not saying it will, I'm just saying let us be prepared.
Mhm.
Preparation is key in anything, right?
True.
So okay, Lisa Dove Washington, author, publisher, host, uh, Luncheon with Lisa, Dove Magazine, award-winning magazine. Let's see, so many things. I think y'all put out a movie during the pandemic, right?
Yeah, it wasn't me, but I was a part of a skating movie. Yes, and had a ball.
Yes, yes, and I know that you have some other works that are coming forth, not movies, but things that people can enjoy with the family. So we'll get into some of that a little later. Mickey English, I've known Mickey. Oh my gosh, it's over a decade now.
It
Um,
has been a minute, I will agree.
yes, Mickey, y'all. Let me tell y'all about Mickey on a personal note as well as professional. But when I first started, you guys have heard me say that I have the privilege and honor to officiate basketball. When I first started officiating, you know, it's obvious when I'm clueless. It's obvious, and I'm still clueless in a lot of things today. But Mickey was so gracious, so patient, really really told me things to help me be successful in that arena, both on the court and off the court. You know, that's the thing. We don't realize it's a whole off the court thing. With anything you're doing, is the fulfillment and the carrying out of those duties, but there are things off those duties that you have to do as far as administrative, how you present, setting things up. But one of the things Mickey told me during my first, I think it was before I even ref my first game in casual conversation, she mentioned something she purchased due to this advocation. And what she mentioned was not something cheap. And I was like it changed my whole outlook. I was like, what? I was like, this is going to be fun and good for me physically. And I mean, everything in me, because I've always been a quote unquote hustler. But when she said that inside, I was just like eyebrows raised, like, oh, this what we're working with? This is, there's this type of potential in this. And from that moment on, I began to look at it like, no, this is a viable business. And how do I want to structure this going through? Yeah. So okay, that's my little story about Mickey. Mickey also worked with a financial company. And Mickey, if you like, you can share some of that. If you like to, do you want to share that at all, or would you want to plow on through?
Sure. Yeah, I'm fine with that. So um, you are correct. Sharon reminded me quite a few times of some of the conversations we had that for me were just a casual conversation and me trying to help a young lady who told me she was interested in an arena that I was in. Little did I know I was having that type of impact on you and your future over what quote unquote is just a sport. It's basketball, and basketball is my passion. I have played it um, since I was probably 7. It actually paid for school. I went to the University of Wyoming on an athletic scholarship. So while it initially was just a sport, it has offered so many benefits into my life. And as just an avenue of trying to stay connected to the game, I got into officiating and found out, just as Sharon did, what type of business side is now associated with officiating and the benefits that it can add to not only myself but also my family. And to LaSharon's point she made, it has paid for many of things, including the majority of my children's secondary education in college. So I use the funds that I made to invest. So every time I got paid, they got paid.
Come
And
on.
my ultimate goal is to have my children graduate from college with as little of debt as possible. So to try to break some of those generational impediments that our children have suffered, I wanted to do better for mine. So I have been a basketball official for over 25 years in all levels, from the little kids at the Y on Saturdays that I still do, all the way up to a Division One. It has served me well. It is hard work, but it does have the avenue and the capacity to allow you, whichever you choose, whether it's your passion, your purpose, or your profession, it can allow you to go enjoy the things that you truly love and allow you to see the world as you're doing
See, that's what I'm talking about right there. And for me, it has helped me, as you said, Mickey, it has helped me like pay for things, but it has also helped me in how I speak when I'm speaking and doing trainings with individuals. So many of those skills transfer. And so
it.
many of the things that my mentors talk to me about, as far as how to handle assigners, taking care of your business, all of that comes into play professionally, because you don't know who you're going to ref with from game to game.
True,
You don't always get to pick your coworkers or your business, the people you're doing business with. So you
true,
have to be able to work with all kind of
true.
stuff.
True. And as far as the professional side of it, my worlds now are very intertwined. My normal 8 to 5 that I do that pays the household bills I use a lot of the skills and the attributes, the qualities that I've learned in officiating that help you maintain your composure, to help you deal with stressful situations, to help you be able to communicate across all lines of nationality, of skill sets, of financial status. The young man and the young ladies
Yeah.
who are on the court that are enjoying their game, at that point, they're the most important people that come into my contact. And I want to ensure that I'm giving them the best I have to give. But then I also want to make sure that their opportunity, if that's the only time in their lives that we ever come into contact, the best thing that can happen for them is that, you know what, they don't remember me at all, because then that means I did my job on a fair and equal basis. And they just got the opportunity to be a child for 2 hours in a day and just enjoy a game that they're getting to play. So I deal with them all on a very respectful. It's always sir and ma'am and thank you and please. And from one adult to children, I want them to know that I value the opportunity that I'm spending with them. So if I can make just that small little bit of a difference to have them know that there are adults in this world that they can communicate with, that they can speak to, that they can have the opportunity to interact with, I'm hoping it carries over until the rest of their lives as well.
Yeah, Lisa. Yeah. 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 Let's come behind that. Yes, I love it.
Look, really, she was actually the same thing, just different, venues. But yeah, everything has crossed over for me. And it's funny that the things that I started to do were just because I love to do them, and
Mm-hmm.
then they did turn
True.
into something that was sort of a side hustle, and then it actually became um it became a profession, so to speak, because I love to do it so much. It's work. I mean, people always say if you love to do it, it's not work. It's still work.
Right.
You work at everything that you do, but I enjoy the work, even when it's stressful, because you always have deadlines. Even if it's something you love to do, you still have a deadline. You still have things you have to meet. So I don't know why
Right.
people try to put those into different spaces. It's like you can love, I mean, it goes with marriage, it goes with work, with it.
Mhm.
It's still work. You got to do the work, no matter whether it's a side hustle, it's a profession. But I do find myself, especially because I know one of the books I wrote had to do with communication, and I find myself using what I wrote about on my job, in my businesses, and even on my 9 to 5 my government job. I find myself using the skills that I've learned outside of work, to manage different group settings that I'm in, whether I'm leading, whether I'm a follower. So it's all coming together, which is actually a good space to be in, which is why those side hustles, or hustle, is a great thing. It can be a great thing if you do it the right way, if you're really wanting to do something different. Because at first it wasn't about the money for me, but then it was about, well, no, I think, as Sharon said, oh, okay, um there is a money part of this, and
Mhm.
Yeah.
let me work this in a way that makes it beneficial to me, so that it doesn't become just the goal to get the money. But yeah, if I'm doing something that I love to do, and it actually brings money to the table
Mhm.
that I can use to help finance travel or college or whatever it is, then absolutely. It's just another profession for me.
One of the things when I was younger, like younger just as far as like business or just earlier in my growth development. That's how I'll say that, because it's not always years or even experience. Just you don't know what you don't know, and sometimes you think you know, but you really don't know. So, but
Mhm.
when I was younger in all of my businesses, because I was always, again, since I was a kid, I'm like, don't just have one pot on the stove. What if that eye go out? What if that one don't heat up? You got to eat some other way.
Mhm.
Younger in that journey, I used to try so hard to be like, no, you have to keep everything separate. This is my thing on the side. It cannot, like I'm gonna keep it so separate from my job. Like your job is your job. You need to keep that separate. And as I grew in life, I'm like, hold on, but it's all me.
Yep.
Yes.
It's all me. Like it is all me. And I really tried to keep it separate. And what hit me one year was like, why are you fighting so hard to keep this separate? Like knowledge or nonsense. Is this because somebody told you this? And who told you this? Is this somebody who was 14 when you were 14? And now you at this stage in life and you steady holding on to this belief? You know, did someone in your mastermind tell you this? Did someone who's mentoring you? Where did this information come from? And why did they have an equal seat at the table? I'm like,
Mm.
keep it separate, keep it separate. And so even when I did leave like sales, people say, when I left corporate America, I left it. I bless what they say. I don't want to change it at all. But I don't say when I left corporate America. I say when I grew from, because
Mm.
that's still part of me and there are relationships that are established there. Am I not going to do business with anybody I met throughout all of those years? Of course I am. So I don't even try to keep it separate. I don't try to force it down people's throat either. But you know, if they're like, "Hey, I heard you," yeah, I do. You know, what interests you about that? Something else I learned in officiating. Oh, that's interesting. What caught your eye? And I let them define what they're looking for. And baby, if it's something that's on this platter that I serve,
Mhm.
let's talk about how we can eat.
Oh,
It's
that's
like,
the real networking right there. When it's accidental, is the best connection ever. I even have people in my 9 to 5 who actually, write for me on my magazine. But I keep it separate in that if someone shows interest, then I can move you over there. But I
Mhm.
keep that door open, and just manage it in a way where I'm not, doing anything I'm not supposed to be doing. But absolutely, I found some writers there. I found some people who actually work with me very well on the other side. So we've actually learned each other on a professional level in 9 to 5, and me being the CEO of a magazine and you being one of my writers. But it has enhanced the way we work together because they know the different parts of Lisa. They
Mhm.
know, and it's
yeah,
kind of a good space to be in when you see people working outside of work and then at your 9 to 5. So you just get to see the different parts of them, and where it's coming from, and then you pick up on some of that. So I've learned from so many people outside of the job, and then brought that into my 9 to 5 to make it a more pleasant situation when it's not so much. Because I will say that I'm ready to retire, but I've learned so much from it that I'm going to take everything that I've learned and incorporate it back into what I love to do when I retire. So yeah, that door is always open.
I
I
mean, oh, go
I'm sorry. I have to second condone high five Lisa on all of that, because in my world, in my normal day to day 8 to 5, 7 to 4, I work for a major financial institution where the goals, some of the goals from my officiating and some of the goals from my 9 to 5 are all the same. You want to make your piece of the world better. You want to impact the community in which you live. You want to provide for the children in which you now come into contact with. So trying to ensure that I balance the two and educate, I found it absolutely impossible to be able to separate the two. So at some point, I didn't really realize I intentionally kind of merged them all together. But my people in my 9 to 5 are just as interested in officiating and how to and what, and like you did what. And, I get the lovely little text all night long now about, hey, are you watching this? Can you take a look at this? And now some of them have decided that, you know what, Mickey, I would like to do that. And it's not just basketball, whatever sport interests you, like I will help you bridge into that world to just be
yeah,
able to help you explore all the different facets of you. We all wear so many different hats across there. I mean, I'm a wife, a mother, a friend, a sister, so with all of those hats, at some point, we're going to encounter people who just fit into that world. And then
That's
that
true.
allows me to be all of me, all of the time.
so so let's jump into some facts before. Actually, let's take a quick commercial. When we come back, we're gonna get right into some of these questions,
Sure.
just so we can really see how many people actually have a side hustle. Some of the people who are looking, they have side hustles. My warm market, they have people who they work in a side hustle, but they're like, well, I'm an employer. I'm an employee like this. So they approach the side hustle almost like an employee,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't really have a lot of say so. And I'm like, dude, if this is your advocation, if this is your thing that you're doing to build, you better have some say so. Or
Mhm.
I don't know. I think it would behoove you to have say so, as it's
Right.
as you're the one who's going to have to live with this. So let's take this quick commercial break. We'll be right back. I definitely want to say kudos and thank you to SIPS Consults and CS Assist for just being faithful sponsors and always showing up to make sure that the community inside the hospital and outside the hospital, outside surgical support, really have information that they need, and we can vet if it's knowledge or nonsense. Right back.
Those in the know SIPS Consults. SIPS Consults is hiring. Confident, competent, and consistent. Starting as a consultant and a volunteer, SIPS has grown into a dynamic group of stellar sterile processing professionals, offering excellent benefits, 401k, and consultant in training program. We are hiring certified technicians, leads, supervisors, interim managers, educators, coordinators. Apply at recruiting@sipsconsults.com or dial 1-866-615-7977.
All right, and we're back. Hey guys, this is Knowledge and Nonsense. I am joined by Mickey English and Lisa Dove Washington, and we're talking about the side hustle. Some people call it advocation, some people call it being an entrepreneur and having your own business. And so today, our question is how many people, like one of the questions we say is how many, just in a day to day, how many people do you encounter with a side hustle?
Oh, most.
I do.
I don't think I've met anybody
Mhm.
recently that doesn't have some kind of side hustle
Mhm.
going on.
I totally agree. Especially within my circle, I don't know of one person I can name right now, honestly, that does not have some type of side hustle of some sort. Um, whether it's something that they need because of financial, or it's just something that they enjoy doing that has
Mhm.
grown into their side hustle, but they're spending dedicated resources, time, money, efforts, and sacrifices to make that happen.
Yeah, there were over 500,000 new businesses started. And so hashtag yes, we want people who start these new businesses to actually be able to sustain them because as you know, most of the new businesses they don't sustain. Or even
Mhm.
if it's something you're doing in addition to your work, then if you don't have a plan on how you're going to approach it, which Mickey, that's what you helped me do with officiating. You, Scott, Heather, you helped me say, oh, you need a plan. You don't just need to wait on them to assign you a game. You need to go in this with, I'm going to get games. And then I added on three more things based on my schedule,
Mm-hmm.
not when I can, but I'm going to structure my schedule so I can get said games. And I looked at distance to drive and everything. I know some people
Mm-hmm.
don't. They're like, well, I just want to make it to this. I
Mm-hmm.
bless that. I was like, now distance to drive, how many hours is that? So if I break that down, what am I doing hourly? Like I
Of
really,
course.
I'm, I'm like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
hold on. I wasn't trying to cash checks as soon as I got them. I was like, let's wait a minute.
Right.
Let's see how we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do this because of
Yep.
what you said at the beginning. And so, out of those 500,000 businesses, they born out of necessity and need. They're
Mm-hmm.
not always born out of education and know-how.
Correct.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
that's why so everybody has a side hustle, but is there education and know-how? You know,
So, and
Yeah, absolutely. I'm sorry, Mickey, go ahead.
oh, so I totally agree with you because once I got past my just hey, I want to be in the game of officiating and I want to stay near basketball. Once the business side started to evolve and you started to recognize, now I'm an independent contractor. Now we have that what we say we always want is to be in control of our schedule. So that's now a scary thing and an empowering thing all at the same time. So, but Sharon, I do the exact same thing. I literally will map out, is this trip, is this game, is this distance, is this sacrifice worth my time, resources, effort, money that it's going to take to get there. Because while the game is, once getting to the game, that's the easy part. That's what you enjoy. You put on your stripes, you blow your whistle, you go out there. But nobody knows about the study time, the video sessions, the travel time, the coordinated efforts, and the birthdays, the celebrations that you miss from your loved ones while you're doing all those things. So it has to be a family thing. Both or all of my children grew up in a gym. I was officiating before both of those were born. So they don't know me as anything else but a mama who had a side hustle who happened to be basketball. But for them, like it's their enjoyment there, as they've got more aunties, uncles, play cousins and whatnot, because they've grown up in the game of officiating, and it has allowed them to have an extended family that they will have for generations. And it all started with a whistle and a basketball.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I was going to touch on the growth that you mentioned earlier, that and it actually may connect with the question you had about how do you determine which side hustle to focus on, because I grew in my hustle. So I just think that there are levels to it. You start off where it's just something you love to do, and then you start to see, okay, so this is profitable. And then you have to get into, how do I manage this profit? Like, you just can't collect money and then you're not growing in it. You have to then sit down and say, okay, so how is this going to work for me? And then manage that time, because I think that I've just gotten to a space where I decide where my focus is based on how I'm feeling in that space. So if I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, that it's not, I'm not enjoying it anymore, and it's to become a straight, I got to do this, I got to meet this, that's not what I want as far as the side hustle. So then I actually have to force myself to fall back, decide how I want to work this so that it remains the side hustle I want it to be, or the profession I want it to be. Because I don't know. I play with that word side hustle sometimes, because I think sometimes I'm a hustle. I love the side hustle part of it, but I've grown to, well, I don't know if this is a hustle. This is actually what I enjoy to do, and I'm blessed to be able to make money doing it. So I don't know that I'm hustling. I don't even know that I want to hustle anymore. Right. So that's why I play with that word, because hustle gives me the feeling of moving around. You're just stressed. And my goal as I've gotten older is I don't want to stress about anything. And when I started to do that, those side hustles, I ended up with 5 or 6 of them and never even planned it that way. But when you relax and you release, you actually end up figuring out how you can manage this, and you can turn 2 into 5 just like that. And my focus shifts. So, and it's okay. I noticed that when I focus on one so much, it becomes overwhelming. So I really do. I know some people think you don't multitask, but you do. You have to shift. Sometimes it's 50 here, 50 here. Sometimes it's 40 here, 30 here. And if you're okay with all of that, it works out for you.
I think we also have to give ourselves permission to be okay with the change. When I met LaSharon, like I was 100% gung ho, like I had a goal. And now in the decades since, like my goals have shifted even for my hustle, my advocation. So that the time and resources I used to be willing to dedicate, I'm not. But we have to give ourselves permission to grow and change. And once we realize that hustle is overtaking everything that we originally started hustling for, we got to be able and allow ourselves permission to go, you know what, I've built it to a level, and now I would like to scale back. Because to Lisa's point, I don't like to be stressed about anything. So now I legitimately ask myself 2 questions about whatever the stressful situation is. And if the answer is not yes to both of them, then it gets no more brain cells. Like I'm done with it, and it's a no brain cells required subject, and I am moving on.
Okay. Not a question on the board, but here we go. Yes. Identity. Identity. And what we're saying, what you guys are saying, identity is such a strong thing. because I know there are people who, well, I am this, and because I am this, like I am a football player, and so 100% of their day goes to playing football.
Mhm.
I bless that, guys. But again, when it's like I gotta hustle, hustle, and then maybe a decade later or something, your hustle, your hustle may be hustling, but it may not look the same.
Mhm.
You know, as people get wiser and more education and more influence in any industry they're in, the physical hustle becomes less and the mind hustle, like the muscles do less. All the muscles work less because one muscle is working more. You know what I'm
That's
saying? And muscle memory kicks in there. And so, like, even as an official, people say, well, you're a referee.
Mhm.
And at first I was like, I am. I'm a referee. And I was a referee. I love it. I love it. I love it. But they would say like, well, you're a referee, you have to do all this and all these days. As if I wasn't available 5 or 6 days a week, it
Mhm.
was almost like, well, you don't want it or you ain't a ref. And I'm like, I do want it,
Right.
and I am an official. But I think because my identity wasn't only that,
Right.
Mhm.
it helped me not like be like, dang, I ain't gonna have no friends that don't like me. And the same thing with these
Mhm.
avocations. And that's why I said like even growing from corporate, not leaving corporate, because it's still all me.
Mhm.
And my like I'm sharing. I'm
Mhm.
sharing. I love knowledge and nonsense. But it's not like, well, you a podcast host, you have to do okay, I will. I will fulfill those things, but
Right.
I'm sharing.
Mhm.
I'm a
Well,
trainer, I'm a speaker.
you know
I'm
what you did?
sharing, you know. Go
Yeah,
ahead, Nikki.
Sharon, you just walked into that room um, of entrepreneur versus the
Mhm.
career 9 to 5er, which has always been a topic of um, frustration at times for me because it is that just what you said that entrepreneurs usually feel like, oh, you're not a real entrepreneur if you're doing this and that, or you have a 9 to 5. They actually make another
If
category
you
for
sleep in
you.
more than six
Right.
hours, you
Yeah, and it was
Yeah.
like, why can I still not be that?
Mhm.
Because now I have, or the ones that have a 9 to 5 and an entrepreneur, they're not the real entrepreneurs. Then it's a dual this and I've always been confused about that because everybody's goals, everybody's focuses, everybody's reason for doing what they do on the side is very different. Everybody is not. I know people always say, well, you're not. You got to be about the money. Well, I don't know that that's necessarily
Mhm.
everybody's motivator.
Mhm.
I want to do things that I enjoy to do, regardless of the money. So
Mhm.
that's what makes me happy. So I think people don't know how to be okay with if it brings you peace to
Right.
divide your time and not hustle like the next person because they are a full entrepreneur, and it doesn't make you any less entrepreneur because you
Mhm.
still have that business, but everybody works their space differently. And if we understood that there's difference, it's not all one way versus another way, like what you were saying, Sharon.
a
I
way.
think people
Chilling
would
the
be a
thing.
lot happier, but I think they're trying to meet that definition that is
Mhm.
the standard. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? Like it has to
Absolutely.
be all or nothing. And that's just not true. And if it is, I'm not doing it that way.
I
Um,
think, Sharon, I think you hit it on the head when you said identity. We identify with other standards. Like
mhm,
and that's a fallacy. I've been guilty of that where I've measured my success by what others are doing. And I finally got to a place in my life because even I didn't like that concept about me. Like, no, why am I not okay with somebody else's success? Why am I not okay? And once you get to that point where, you know what, I have fully accepted that that was not intended for me. So that's why I couldn't achieve it in this time and in there, because I personally was not ready with the failure, with the success, with all of it. We have to allow ourselves to be measured by our own stick. And only you can set
Come
that
on.
bar for what your success looks like. In my arena, my success is being able to pay for my kids' school. Now, how I get to that successful bar, other people may not like, they may not be willing to sacrifice. But if that's what my measure of success is, being able to travel, being able to pay for the vehicle that I told you about. Like that was my measure of success. But every one of those bars was my own, and it moved because it went from, okay, I just want to be near the game. Okay, success. Okay, now you know what? I need to pay for a vehicle. Okay, success. Okay, now that you did that, okay, so what's next? And then it morphed into, okay, I got two kids and they gonna need to go to school. So we set that up. So having the ability to be able to be authentically true with yourself and your support system allows you to be able to determine your successful bar. And now it's easy to continue to get up and hustle because I'm seeing my bar, I'm seeing successes in my house. My crew is good. I can provide for things. And now that's my success. It may not be the same for Miss Lisa and it may not be the same for you. But
That's
in
right.
my household, now everybody's smiling. And how can you not be happy when the people in your house are smiling and happy? Like that is success.
And I do understand it because we in it now. That is the success. And like when you're a little kid, you're like, I want to be this, and this. And then you grow and then you come into adulting and somewhere somebody tells you, well, you can only be this,
Right.
or you can only do this and this. And I understand why they're saying that because it's only so many times in a day and because they bought into that. It's a good thing. You can't do, I don't think you can do everything well, but I do believe you can do many things, more than one thing, and some things,
Mhm.
you know, because it's based on your level of success. So when you get into whatever your side hustle is, please, whatever your advocation is, please get some mentors, some people who've been doing it for more than 30 days. Maybe some people have been doing it for a decade. They've seen some come, they've seen some go. They've seen some trends and they've seen some stability. Like these are stable. These are staples here. Please get with a mentor. Please get with someone in that arena that can help you with that. Now notice you're getting with them because you are getting acclimated to that field. If you've been in that field like 15, 10, 5, whatever years, please begin to define. I did it. I did it year one with Mickey and referee. And as soon as she said something, I was like, wait a minute, because I didn't think of it that way. Please begin to define what you wanted to do for you.
That's right.
You know, there are areas I didn't do that in too. Let me be clear. I had a meeting with somebody last week and I just walked out quiet because I was like, man, I got to get my life in order. But begin to define what that is because when you start, you're looking at others because you're getting understanding of this industry.
Mhm.
But you don't want to just be in comparison and then feeling like you're not successful because family A just got two new cars. Well, that's family A. What did you need and what was your mile marker that you reached? Because their two new cars could be you becoming debt free. Or maybe you redid the whole inside of your house and no one knows. But every time you walk in it, you're
Mhm.
like, oh yeah, this is this is success. So you
Absolutely.
have to have your own markers. I rambled a bit there, but you guys get what I'm saying,
No,
right?
absolutely. Actually, that's just what I did in the last month and a half because my focus was peace in my personal life, which motivated me for my side hustles. So I've actually shifted the way I move, where you think sometimes you get into your side hustle and that motivates you to have the fun because you can travel, and it wasn't working in that direction for me.
Mhm.
So I decided, okay, let me really check out and focus on, even down to, I had actually talked myself into, okay, when you post on social media, it's not going to have anything to do with work or a side hustle or anything. It's going to be all about fun. I don't care about people saying, oh, you posted food, or I'm going to post whatever I want to post, enjoying my family and my friends, and not worry about those standards, that you could have anything you got going on in your life if you posting food. Okay. So I used to believe in that until I said one day I just don't care anything about except this nice little drink or plate of
Mhm.
food I'm getting ready to eat, and I want to snap a picture. And when I didn't care anymore about what other people would think or how they defined me working, because now I'm having a good life. That was my goal, though, to be happy in my personal life. And what I would suggest to people is to find your motivator. because that's what I go back to when I start to be overwhelmed. I go back to what motivates me, what makes me happy, which is always back to my core, my family. When I'm feeling overwhelmed, I go back to family. People might get mad because now you're not, liking as much. You're not doing this, you're not sharing. But I used to feel guilty about it. And now I don't feel guilty about that. And it has opened me up in such a wonderful way where I'm excited to start the new show, to start this, to start the publishing. I don't feel like, oh my gosh, we got to get back to this hustle again. So that was what kind of shifted me, but that's a new shift for me. So it really does, it grows over time. It does. Grows and changes. And you got to be open to the change.
Yes.
Well, that's scaling.
Yep.
It may not be scaling how people use it on LinkedIn. You got to scale to the next level, but that may be your next level. That is scaling. That is scaling. If
Well,
it's your advocation.
Yeah, we only could, and at that level, the knowledge that I have right now in officiating was not what I had 10 years ago. So I grew, so the motivation grew, so the scaling grew, so it's all part of the process. We just can't get so fixated on the fact that it changed from what we originally started to what it morphed into today. It's the same with our children. We physically watch them grow and change into different people. And at one point, I had a 2-year-old toddler running around who's now taller than me and playing with the top of my head. He grew, so we gotta grow too.
Yes.
That's right.
Yes. So, Lisa, I am excited. I'll say it again later, but I'm excited. August 11th. August
Yeah.
11th, I'll be spending time with Luncheon with Lisa, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. We're kicking off season 3. Yeah, starting it. Starting the energy high. We're doing it. And I'm excited to be there. Guys, join us, please. August 11th, 7:30 Eastern. Come and hang out with us.
Cool.
So, do you think if we use something that doesn't say side hustle, it can change how people look and view their advocation or their secondary and supplemental, I call it revenue generator?
I do. I think that side hustle has a sometimes a negative connotation because it minimizes what you're doing. Not that that's true, but I think that when people hear side hustle, they assume that you're not really that motivated about this. This is just something you do on the side. It's not really that important. They put all those things on that. I think if we changed or either redefined side hustle, I think that would change people accepting the fact that this is okay to do this. Because I actually think we've been sitting on side hustles for a long time, long before we talked about it. Because really, they're your gifts. They're your, the skills that you've accomplished, and then you decide to do something more with it. So because every side hustle, I shouldn't say everyone, but even with the crafting I do, that was simply based on something I wanted in my home, which was burlap. I wanted my Christmas tree to be totally in burlap garland and ornaments and everything. And I decided I'm going to go out there on YouTube and figure out how to do it for myself because it's very expensive. And I did some things, put it on Facebook. And the next thing you know, people were inquiring on how to purchase what I had created. And that's where it started. And I've always been creative since I was 2 or 3. So I was sitting on it. I just hadn't grown it into what it is now. And now I do it on my time because it did get demanding where people's like, I want this. And I was like, oh, wait a minute, this is not what I wanted. Because I didn't want to be an employee. Sharon said, I didn't want to be the employee of this hustle. So I had to fall back and say, okay, let me define how this looks for me, because this is my gift. I just need to, take control, as Sharon touched on. I need to take control of how this rolls out, because people will push you into being the employee of your own business.
True. I agree with Lisa on that point. It's part of the reason I define it as my passion, my purpose, or my profession, because for me, that helps me stay in line with what I'm doing. So if it's my passion, for me, that's all about fun and I'm enjoying it. And like, it gives me pleasure. So I'll go out there and I'll do things that I just truly enjoy. I enjoy going to hang out at the Y on Saturday morning with a bunch of little bitty kids who, all I want them to do is go the right direction. That's fun for me. But then in my professional world, that's a little bit different, because in my mind, that equates to how I put food on the table. That equates to how I pay the bills. So while I still enjoy it, there's a certain level of expectation and professionalism that comes with that. So if it's my purpose, it's my passion, or it's my profession, I like to use those as opposed to the word side hustle for some of the reasons that Lisa mentioned. Then it makes it all about me and encompassing, but it takes that little bit of negativity away from the action that you're doing. So now I don't feel bad on a Saturday morning if my passion tells me that, you know what, I'm just going to hang out with my kids and we're just going to go hang out at the local bistro, where my profession may not have allowed me to take this morning off and go have lunch with my children.
Absolutely.
That's snap. Harry says the nice thing about my side hustle, the nice thing about his side hustle is it became his main hustle. And now he's free from working for a facility directly,
Yeah, exactly.
financial independence.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one of the things I really, with advocation and officiating, learning that term advocation, and because Mickey, Scott, and different ones really stressed to me what to do even outside the court is equally as on the court, how you interact with your assigned, things like that. All of those things transferred.
Right.
You know, it transferred how you interact with decision makers. That transferred even into what I then started doing here in Dallas when I was working with a company called, well, working for SHIPS at that time, like having to interact with decision makers, CEOs, CNOs, things like that. It transferred. So I do want to say this too. Yes, when you get in and like grind, hustle, many people, because a lot of side hustles are born out of necessity. Got fired, got to feed these kids. It's born out of that. It doesn't stay in infancy, as Mickey said, that child grows. And so you have to grow yourself. But I remember when I went back to Only Leadership, I was so excited to have a 6-figure year. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Everybody doesn't have 6-figure years, at least not at that time.
Correct.
And I had a 6-figure year. Me, who wasn't supposed to make it past 30. You understand what I'm saying? I had a 6-figure year. I was like, really? That wasn't something I thought was possible younger. And I was like, I got a 6-figure year. I'm gonna keep it. You know, I'm just like, I'm gonna do it. And I don't care if I sleep. Who needs sleep? I'll sleep when I'm dead. You will be soon if you don't get sleep. Okay. But I'm like, ah. And when I tell you, with that high increase, that high financial increase, you think it came with peace, this, and this.
Right.
But it didn't for me. You have to know what's successful to you.
Right.
For me, it came with stress. It was a lot of unanswered questions. Everything had to do with something else or somebody else, and waiting on this or that or this or that. So when I finally was like, okay, I got to a point where I was settled, understanding how things go. And I was like, I'm not happy. And a lot of other people want to be in the position I have. So I almost felt guilty about saying I'm not happy.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying? Like, how dare you not be happy? I'm sorry, life isn't perfect in your world, who made 6 figures. Okay, that doesn't mean you always make 6 figures. It doesn't mean you always don't. True. It just meant I hit that. And in my ignorance, I told everybody and their mama what I was making. So they just assumed I had no problems and there was nothing. And so the first year that I came back to my passion and my purpose, I was like, this ain't it. You know where I was like, this ain't it. I got everything I thought I wanted because of something else had defined my success measure, not me. I'm sick as a dog. I'm miserable. I don't want to go do nothing. It's just me and I ain't even spending the money. I'm giving the money away. I'm buying other people TVs and stuff like that. I don't even want a TV that big, but I'm doing it for others. And that first year, when I tell you, my income dropped by over $50,000 when I went back to where I loved it. I traveled. I went to Dubai. It was like, yeah. And I said, okay, let's restructure this thing. That's actually when I started doing the reset. I was like, okay, let's restructure this. What worked for me? What didn't?
Mm-hmm.
What was I doing that's no longer needed? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing? Is it just because I was doing it 7 years ago? Am I,
Mhm.
it just, anyway, I don't even know why I shared that, but I'm just saying, like, my advocation and these entrepreneur endeavors and supplementary income things, I do want the money. Don't get it twisted.
Right.
But I don't want the money at all costs.
Right.
That's
I don't
right.
want the money. I'm not around to spend it. I
Correct.
wanted to, I like time.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
I like time.
Mm-hmm.
I like time more than I like money, but I won't have any time if I don't have money. So I
Right.
understand how they work
Mm-hmm.
together. So for me, I'm not like,
But that's one of those situations, though, where how often do we take time to assess whether what we're doing is now meeting the goal? We get
Right.
so caught up in the next activity, the next game, the next season. So, right now I'm in the process of preparing for the coming season. So now I'm on the computer all day registering and making sure I get all my ducks in a row. I'm guilty of I've not set the goal and the expectation for this coming season. What will
Right.
define success for me? What are my limitations? What will my availability schedule look like? And what will success for the 22-23 season look like? So I think that's part of our growth process now. I used to never do that. I used to just go into a season, it's another season, let's go, let's go, let's go. But now I'm at a point in my life that my children are older, and now, like, I want to hang out with them, I want to see them, I want to enjoy some things they want to do.
Yep.
So allowing them to be the decision makers. Okay, what would you like to do? And I want to be available for those things is a different mindset. So that now will be happiness and success for me.
Yep.
So we got to redefine every year, or every whatever your season is, whether it's for Lisa, every book or every magazine, or, a couple of books, and whatever that success looks like, always give yourself the ability and the
yeah,
privilege to be able to reset and say, hey, this is the new goal. Now, you know what? Money is good and it allows us to do a lot of things, but the more money you make, it has that equivalent of problems.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and I wanted to add to that I did decide, make a conscious decision to work harder. I mean, smarter, not harder. Because and then I actually told myself to stop following my mind, because my mind works different than, for me.
mhm,
I understand who I am, and it doesn't take but the next 5 minutes for me to have a new idea. Oh my gosh, this is what I can do with this,
mhm,
because things just kind of pop into my head. But what I was noticing was I was trying to keep up with the way my mind was working, which was causing me to get into that hustle where I'm trying to meet that goal and then meet this one. And I was tired. So I had to learn how to say, okay, Lisa, take these ideas that pop into your head and put them somewhere, and then work with that list, decide what's doable, what was just a kind of pop in, pop out. Um, what's not a book, but maybe a post on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Because you just kind of go all out when you publish, and you thinking, oh, that's a book title. But sometimes it's just merely a subject that you want to
mhm.
maybe put out on social media. So I had to really kind of control how my mind was kicking out ideas, because I am one of those people that my mind is always going, and it's always at night. It's always, you could be in the shower
Mhm.
when you don't have that pen and paper. So now I'm hustling to remember what I was remembering. Then it just, yeah, it became a inner hustle. But I had to learn me and when to calm me down and tell myself to take several seats. Um, and then some of that I had to throw out. You can't do, like Sharon said, you can't do everything. So, Mickey, I absolutely agree with you, because I was getting tired of me. But I was so scared to lose all of those
Mhm.
wonderful ideas. But sometimes those ideas come to you for someone else. They're not all mine. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? They're mine to share with someone else. But if you don't know that, you sitting here trying to do 100 things. And he's like, I didn't
Mhm.
give all of those to you. I was just telling you so you could give
Yep.
them to somebody else.
yes,
So
write it, write the vision,
that's
like,
right.
write it down so
Mhm.
they can run. It is not always you running with it.
Right.
That's
And
right.
that
Mhm.
folks get that mixed up, but I'm not even gonna go deep into that. But you hit on something right there. Get the vision right, make it plain
Mhm.
so that the person running with it can do it. That's
Mhm.
whether that is the whole business vision or whether that is a task that you're delegating. Learn how to write it down and communicate
Mhm.
effectively. So who you okay, that's another show. We'll talk about that. That's for the communication component of UCDI leadership. Yes. But hey, I'm going to show this quick commercial, and then when we come back, if we could just give like two tips maybe each for how
Mhm.
somebody can have a successful avocation established, something that maybe ain't the first thing they see on YouTube that has worked for us.
Cool.
So give me about a minute and we'll be right back. All right, and we're back, y'all. We are back. And so that definitely is the reset for those of you who are interested in the reset. It kicks off August 1st. We're here. But if you're interested in it, text the word reset to 214-717-5921. Journals and t-shirts went out this week. So I'm excited for the group that's going. But come join us. Let's do this thing with synergy. And ask some people. If you're connected to me, there's someone you know who's done the reset. Ask some of the people who've gone through the reset because they can give you a more accurate definition than I can. I facilitate it. I take your payment, but listen to the people who've gone through it. And you'll probably be like, hey, let me please take my payment. But yeah, so kudos to that. Now, with this avocation, what are some like two tips each that we would share if it was somebody who you just really, really, really want to see succeed at all costs? What are a couple of things you would tell them about an avocation or being entrepreneurial and setting up their own business? Whoever wants to go first. Lisa.
I would first suggest that be open to listen to people. You mentioned this before that have been doing it and been doing it for a while because they've seen the ups, they've seen the downs, they've seen what works, what doesn't. Be open to listening to them. I know we all have our own agenda of what we want to do, but we have to keep ourselves open to hearing other people's journeys and then pull from that what works for you. Because a lot of times we feel like if we're listening to someone else that, I mean, I don't want to do it your way. It's not about that. It's about taking what someone else has done and then understanding what works for you, what doesn't. And the second thing I would say is to, and this leads into you all connecting with Sharon for the reset, because that's what actually I have grown to, learning how to reset, learning how to fall back, reassess what's going on in my life, what needs to go, what can stay, and being okay with the decision I make and not feeling guilty for letting go of something I've been doing for 10 years because maybe I've shifted into another space. So, yeah, resetting was absolutely major for me. So be open to resetting and shifting and changing. So those are the two things I would offer.
All right.
Uh, for me, the first one would be is to truly be honest with yourself. If whatever it is that you want to do, wherever you find your purpose, passion, or profession, if you decide that you want to turn that into something that you want to dedicate to, set a realistic expectation and a bar for how long you can dedicate, what you can dedicate, and give yourself a true, honest window to measure your success. because we're going to get frustrated. You're going to find a few pitfalls that you fall into. You got to have something that sustains you, that keeps you going to get over that. The second one for me is, once you start the income and it comes in, get a really good tax advisor so you don't create another problem based off your avocation. Be able to ensure that you're not jeopardizing your household for what you've now decided needs to be in addition to that. And I have those conversations with my household, so we're all on board. So it's not just a me thing, this is a us thing.
Mhm.
Listen, and it's real about those taxes. I remember the first time my accountant told me, I was like, "How much am I getting?" And it was like, "Well, this is what you owe." I was
Mhm.
like, "What? What? What do you
Yeah.
mean?" I was like, "Hey, I didn't make that much money. I
Mhm.
understand it was a my bracket dropped. This, yeah, it's a
Mhm.
different.
Yeah.
So please don't hesitate on that. Um, all right, I would say I want to say a couple of things too. I would say please complete the sacrifice. Complete the sacrifice. Like, don't go without something to build something. Know
Mhm.
that whenever you're sacrificing, you're going without.
Mhm.
But if you're only going without, that's an incomplete sacrifice. You're sacrificing to replace it with something better. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're sacrificing meat, it's so that you have a healthier lifestyle. Don't have an incomplete sacrifice. And check your tribe. Check your
Mhm.
Mhm.
tribe. I would say check your
Mhm.
tribe, because
Mhm.
you're not always going to be super excited. The honeymoon phase will end, and there
Mhm.
will be detail oriented things or fulfillment parts of your business where it's not getting the sale, it's fulfilling what you've already committed to. And so you really have to check your tribe, because if everyone in your tribe or in proximity to you is dismissive of your little side hustle, then that language will begin to seep into your day to day. So
Absolutely.
complete your sacrifice and check your tribe. Not check them like you check them, but just look at who's in your tribe so that you can understand where comments are coming from.
True.
So that's what we have. I want to thank both of you for being with us today. Please connect with these individuals on LinkedIn. Tell the people like where they can find you, or if somebody is interested in officiating, you guys can text the show number. You can
Mhm.
say referend, and I'll get your information and I can get that over. I'm sure we can connect you with somebody somewhere. But share with the people anything you'd like to share with them as we are about to leave. Lisa, you go first again.
Sharon, thank you so much. I always enjoy joining you. It's always a great conversation, and I'm a communicator, so this is right up my alley. So thank you so much for that. But lisadovewashington.com is my website, but I'm always on social media under the Luncheon with Lisa page, or even just Lisa
Mhm.
Dove Washington, either sharing family or sharing business, but it's always a positive message either way.
Yes. Mickey?
So my God-given name is Minthia English, and that's what you can find me on for LinkedIn. It is Cynthia with an M. So I know it can be a little difficult, but that's the easiest way to remember it. I am on Facebook, Mick English. I am learning the other social platforms. My children are teaching me, so y'all pray for me on that regard. But if officiating is your calling, or you would like to get into it, by all means, feel free to reach out to me. We have connections all over the place. We've gone definitely in the state of Oklahoma, Texas, and the surrounding. So those are my immediate contacts, but I do have contacts all over the country. So if it's something that you're interested in, regardless of sport, feel free to reach out and we'll see if we can't find you a connection to help make that bridge work for you.
All right, guys, this has been Knowledge and Nonsense here this Saturday, and we were talking about the side hustle and it being an avocation. I want to encourage you, when you're communicating to someone else and you're like, oh, I do that as my side hustle, go ahead and say, hey, we can take care of those needs for you, because sometimes if you communicate it as a little side hustle, the other person is like, oh, okay, they may see it as a little side hustle, and there may be some business that you just turned away from you without knowing it. Look at your avocations, 500,000 of them started. We're hopeful that 500,000 will remain. Facts tell us it will not be that case. But just so you know, many people have applications. There are tools out there to help you do it. You don't have to do it all alone. And that's that. We'll see you next Tuesday on Knowledge and Nonsense. Y'all have a good weekend. I am going to get out of this hotel room and enjoy my life. Y'all be safe, all right?
Have
Have
a
a
Have a
good
good
great
one.
one. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah.